Hello there, everybody. Today, I am with my good friends Aiden and Amelia to talk about D&D, more specifically, how to get into D&D, because Amelia over here has next to no knowledge about Dungeons and Dragons. And
Jacob, one could argue, so do you.
That is true. That is true. But I have slightly more experience than both.
You do have the $140 something books, so you know.
For those that don't know, Aiden over here, he was our DM for about 2 years, I think.
Yep, 1.5 if you want to be exact.
Yeah, but it was close enough to 2 years, and 2 years sounds more impressive.
I was chained to that throne for so long.
And
wait, this is a video to get people into Dungeons and Dragons. I loved every second of being chained to the throne.
So I feel like it's important to recognize what exactly Dungeons and Dragons is, and like what can be best be described as. When I was talking to Amelia earlier, I think I described it as kind of similar to like the whole Choose Your Own Adventures books.
That's not inaccurate. It's basically what it is, except
you're given a lot more free range.
Where in those books it was like, hey, A, B, or C. Dungeons and Dragons is more like, hey, I want to do this, and then the Dungeon Master, who's the person running the game, will be like, okay, this is how you can do this, and whether or not you actually do it. Amelia, why don't you ask us questions, like what do you want to know? Do you think you need to know? And try to do our best.
Where do I start?
So where you would start is step 1, get some friends together, and step 2, figure out who is going to be the Dungeon Master. And like I said before, the Dungeon Master is the person who runs the game. Next thing you want to do is there's 3 books that you want to get your hands on. If you're the Dungeon Master, that's Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual, which is just full of really helpful stuff for running a game. And if you're the player, it's the Player's Handbook, which is all the basic rules and how to make characters and whatnot. Now, you could go out and buy the books officially. That's what Jacob did. But there's also, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's quite a few websites where you can illegally obtain said books.
That is true. They're called the fancy European sites. Player's Handbook is obviously for players, and it's kind of, the basic necessary stuff for it if you want to use the books. And the Monster Manual, I believe, is kind of like an encyclopedia of sorts of all the monsters featured in.
The next step that you would want to do after you have the basic rules is, of course, create a character. Player book outlines the very easy step-by-step guide, so we won't be going in depth with that. That's in the book. But it's not that difficult. It looks incredibly intimidating, but it isn't. But you just use that to create whatever character you want. Like, for example, nice segue here, Jacob's character.
His name's Drake. He is a tabaxi, which is a cat folk. He is a cat boy who has this kind of...
You made a cat boy.
Yes, I did.
You have a cat boy
who has a spooky Robin Hood alter ego thing.
You have an edgy cat boy in your D&D game.
But there is also D&D Beyond, which is helpful, although it does lock certain things behind a paywall.
The D&D Beyond character creator streamlines the entire process, so it's a very easy step-by-step guide. Then using that, you could create a character in like 5 minutes. Next step is gameplay. Now, gameplay, you're going to be using dice, and most people know this. There's, I guess, 2 categories you consider it. The D20, it's the dice you're going to be rolling the most often. It's the one that everybody knows about. It's a 20-sided dice. You're going to be rolling that for skill checks. Now you might be asking, what are skill checks? Well, remember earlier I said as the DM, the DM lets the players know what they are able to do. That's where that comes in.